Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Untapped Podcast. My name is Jacob Gabel.
And my name is Jacob Wurtz, guys. Welcome to episode 143 of the Untapped Podcast. If this is your first time joining us, first of all, thank you. We are thrilled to have you here with us. We've actually got 5 main formats of our show. So first, we have 14 Fortitude episodes. Now, in these episodes, we cover the mental side of our show. So in these episodes, we go over our anecdotal experiences with things like mindset and mentality. We then pass on tips and advice to you guys to then apply to your own lives. Next, we have physical vitality episodes. Now, in these episodes, we cover the physical side of our podcast. In these episodes, we really get to showcase our expertise because you have 2 certified personal trainers here. So in these episodes, we cover everything to do with the gym, nutrition, diet, workouts, mental toughness programs like 75 Hard, supplements, Untapped training, which is alive and well. If you guys have any questions or concerns or curiosities regarding our training, reach out to us. And then sometimes we will take trending articles or topics within the fitness industry and give our thoughts and opinions on those. Those episodes, guys, are full of free game, so make sure you pay attention.
We got a big one today, my guy.
Oh, yeah.
Big one today. So, guys, our third format is our breaking news format. The breaking news format is a current event-based format. Is when we touch on current events, current articles going on in the world. Obviously, the U.S. election just happened. That was a big one for us, but we're not going to spend all of our brand on that one alone, because if we did, we would probably lose our minds, and so would you guys.
We already do.
Yeah,
we already do.
We already have lost our minds, but we're trying to keep them semi-intact, I guess. But so that one, just keep in mind, will not be doom and gloom. It will be a lot of focus on the positive movement toward a better current event scenarios than what we're in now. Now, our fourth format is our Knights Table format. That is a masculinity-based format. We touch on things like toxic masculinity, if it's real, what it is, fatherhood, the impact it's had on our lives, and male topics in general and how important men are to society as well. Now, keep in mind, I'm 26, Wurtz is 26, and then our producer, Mitchell, is 24. Because of that reason, we are not coming to you as some all put together perfect human being or man for that matter, because we will never be that. The only perfect man to ever walk this earth is Jesus Christ. Now, on to our fifth format. That is our guest format. That is when we sit down with an entrepreneur, fitness professional, athlete, doctor, somebody with a great story, as was a lot of those are covered by today, by our guest today. Now, guys, on to our final thing to introduce is our producer and my brother, Mitchell Gabel.
What's going on? How are you guys?
You just had quite the drive, huh?
Yeah, I'm a little burnt out over here.
5-hour drive from a drive that normally would take you about 3.5, huh?
No, like 3.
3?
Yeah.
Yeah, you like to go fast in the Audi, huh?
No, I usually, well, people listen to this, so we won't talk about it.
Well, guys, as Gable mentioned, this is a big episode, and there's multiple reasons for that. Just to cover this first, in case you guys didn't see earlier this week, or I should say last week when you guys are hearing this, Untapped, the podcast specifically, turned 3 years old, which is pretty wild to think back. If you missed our stories, I put up some pictures of what all of this used to look like to what it does now. And what a freaking transformation.
Crazy,
like
dude.
we talk about it.
Yeah.
We talk about it all the time, how we came from one mic, we had an iPad as the camera and all this, and to really go back and look, it's like, damn, we really have come a long way. Like, that's pretty cool. We got this whole setup. We've got great guests, including tonight, that we've had the opportunity to bring on, and it's really cool. It wouldn't be possible without you guys, the fans, viewers, listeners, all of you guys, week in, week out, giving us feedback, asking questions, all of those types of things. Like, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you guys, and happy birthday to Untapped. Pretty cool.
Pretty freaking wild.
Right.
Yeah, it's awesome,
Right.
dude. It's absolutely surreal for us.
Yes.
It's a blessing. Yeah.
Yes. And without further ado, we've been waiting on this one for a little while, so we're very excited to finally have Mr. Brock Wilson. What's up, man?
What's going on, fellas? Appreciate you having me on. And
Absolutely.
happy birthday.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate that.
This is a hell of a setup. I like it.
Yeah. Quite a way to celebrate that birthday is
Yeah, I would
to
say
bring
so.
on a good friend of ours, and we've known you for a few years now, and we've always talked about getting you on, and we're finally making that happen. So we're very excited. We've got a few questions, just as we normally do with guests, but we're looking forward to just a great conversation, like we had, the last hour or so that we.
Hopefully, we didn't waste it all.
Yeah, right. Now we're all gonna be like, man, what do I say now? Yeah,
We're talking about training and how to lift heavy.
Life, kids.
Yeah, I don't know.
yes.
Mustaches.
Yeah, right.
Let's just get that out of the way right now. We'll just get that one out of the way.
Yeah, had I known, I would have shaved it all down. I would have gone stash with you.
Honestly.
Well, before we hop into the questions, tell everyone a little bit about yourself before we go into it all.
Well, Brock Wilson owned Force Performance, a gym here in St. Louis, certified strength and conditioning coach. Work with a ton of athletes. Back in the day, played hockey, played some minor professional, played college hockey. My dad played here in St. Louis for the Blues. Retired, became a coach, and then kind of got into the strength and conditioning side of things. So quite the exciting life. We're going to dive into it, but that's a little bit of background.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. All right, well, first question here. It's a little bit of a long one, so make sure you got your study brain on here.
Holy shit.
All right, what methods have you developed, or what roadblocks have you developed to kind of set up for yourself when you find yourself catching yourself back into old habits or negative habits, maybe negative mindset, things like that, negative thoughts? Like, what are some methods, what are some roadblocks you have set up for yourself to get you past those?
Well, for me, I've struggled with substance abuse, depression, tried to commit suicide. I've gone through a lot of different things. And for me, I think it's getting back to the basics of where I really struggle is finding value in myself. It seems like I got everything together, I got a good life, everything's going right. But it's just one of the things I've always struggled with is just finding value in who I am. I've always identified as a hockey player. And even then I struggled because I wasn't as good as my dad. And even till then, after retiring, it was then who I was, right? It was like, I don't know my purpose. I don't know what value I bring to life because everything I've done up into this point, you get a pat on the back, a good play, you get a pat on the back, good game and all those things. So, it's one of those things where you're trying to find that in your daily life. And that's one of the things I struggle with is just finding value in who I am. So it's, for me, when I struggle or when I hit roadblocks, it's just taking a step back and I'm trying to cipher through the thoughts. Like, is this real? Is this reality? When I'm beating myself down to a pulp, which I do constantly, is it real? Or taking a step back and like looking at the positive things that I'm doing. And one of the main things that really helps me is the people that I help, the athletes that I help, all the kids that I help, and not just strength and conditioning, it's just, the relationships. And
sure,
I say it all the time. I get more from the athletes that I work with and my family than I do anything else. Like it's, the value from my wife and my kids, looking at my kids, and then just hearing from the athletes and what I mean to them. Talking about girlfriend problems, life problems. That's the stuff that's important for me. And just knowing that I'm there for those guys. When I'm really struggling, beat myself down, that's kind of what I go back to is, you're helping a lot more people than you realize. And even, talking about the substance abuse, the depression, the suicide is online and in conversation with people. And like, you're helping more people than you realize. So that's, for me, that's really key.
Yeah.
One thing I was hearing a part of that too, where you were talking about how you have conversations with the athletes. I think a lot of the times people think strength coach, they think personal trainer, they think, okay, you're just teaching them how to lift, you're teaching them how to get healthier. Yeah. And that's about it.
Yeah.
But that's so false because you could probably talk about the East St. Louis boys.
Yeah.
Like they just won the state championship. Yeah. Huge deal. Congratulations to them, by the way. But it's like you working with them, I'm sure half of that, if not more, is relationship building, I would imagine, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. I've gotten calls at like 9:00 at night from, guys having girlfriend problems, and they're in tears because, certain things happen with the girlfriends. And like, those are the things to me that matter. I say, what truly matters is being a good strength coach is building relationships with your athletes. Now, today's day and age, you don't get the respect. You have to earn the respect of athletes and anybody you're working with for that sake. When I used to walk into a locker room, my coach already had my respect. And now it's more so about gaining the respect of your athletes, gaining the respect of your clients. And it's really comes down to one thing, giving a shit about them. And that's how you do that. Well, you take an interest in their daily life. And that's, to me, is the best part of being a coach is taking an interest in my athletes' lives as people.
Awesome.
Right. Well, and because specifically some of those East St. Louis guys, I'm sure you're one of the few, if maybe not the only, person in their life that does care about them,
I'm curious,
and maybe not.
I'm curious about that. Why is that changed? Why do you have to earn a respect?
I was curious. Yeah.
Social media, I think just the day and age, I think the sensitivity levels are heightened. I think that a lot of kids struggle nowadays. I think, as a young kid, it was my responsibility to tell the coach if I was sick. It wasn't my parents' responsibility. My parents didn't call the coach. If I was going to go to practice, I had to do it. And now you look at it, it's like I'm getting calls from parents and texts and this and that. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. Your kid's got to text me, where they're going to have the tough conversations. And I just don't think the kids understand now. They don't know how to do the hard things.
Right.
They don't know how to communicate. They don't know how to talk to you. And I think that plays a part of it. So
do you think any of that stems from, we've had tons of conversations about young kids where they get burnt out in sports at 12, 13, 14, where you're playing, 8 games a weekend, every single weekend, or in terms of baseball for you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a huge deal that these kids have to perform at a high level at an age where sports should be fun.
Yeah.
Almost.
Right.
Is that maybe a part of that?
Yeah, that's a part of it too. And you forget to add into it's all year round now.
There you go.
Yeah.
I was going to add that.
It's not just in season. It's all year round. Like
every sport too.
Every sport.
Every
and,
single.
Like, I mean, obviously with respects, like my number one is hockey. Now obviously not training anymore, but my knowledge is through hockey. And I look at these kids, they'll go through a season. They play spring hockey. I got parents text me what junior camps their kids should go to. They're doing that all summer. I mean, and it's like, at what point do they just sit back and take a break, right? They're doing on ice skills, or they're practicing, trying to do the workouts. I mean, and this is all year round. I mean, even in season now, it's like you got kids going to 5 a.m. skill practices, and then we're talking about 9, 10-year-old kids, and then they're going to school, and then they're going to their practices after school. It's exhausting for them. I'm exhausted listening to the parents talk about the schedules.
Right.
I'm always exhausted every time I hear the schedule too. Like get that list out of it too, because it's a D1 schedule.
Yeah.
When I would shadow with the Iowa State football team for a very short part of my first semester there, but that's literally what it was. They were 4 or 5 a.m. lift. Then you would go to class. Yep. Then you would come back for however many hours of a practice. That's a D1 athlete schedule. Yeah, that is not a 8, 10, 12-year-old schedule or something like that. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
Parents are just a little obsessive, and it's, and you can tell them all day, but, you ask a lot of I would say the top athletes around the world in their respective sports, they all say the same thing. I play different sports.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of your best athletes are, guess what? The best athletes because they played multiple sports.
Right.
Like if you got a good football player, I bet you he's going to be good at pretty much everything. I mean, minus hockey. Obviously, hockey's a little bit different.
Hockey's a little bit different.
Right.
I bet you he's going to be good at everything else he does. So it's, like I said, it's just one of those things where they just get so hyper-focused on just doing one thing. Okay, my kid's got to make it the NHL, 8 years old. This is what I got to do for him. And I tell them they're batshit crazy.
Right.
I don't lie to parents.
You have to. Yeah.
Right.
I'd rather your kid not come in. You go do all the other things you want to do, because I'm not going to balance this out just for that. So.
Right. Who's more competitive nowadays, kids or parents?
Parents.
Yeah.
Like without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
It's scary how competitive the parents are through the kids. I mean, kids, even if you look at the NHL now, like if you look at the style of play, right? It's not as competitive. I think they're out to collect points.
Relaxed.
Like it's so relaxed. And I think the NBA is the same thing. Like if even taking the, you take the whole LeBron, MJ comparison, right? I don't think they're comparable. I think LeBron's a better skilled player. I think he's a better athlete. MJ is a killer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kobe was a killer.
Yeah.
The athletes now are not killers, and they don't have that in them. And I think that's the competitive aspect of, I swear on this, but like the fuck you mentality is gone. And you see it in the NHL 24/7.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I figured that's how you're going to answer that, because I saw it all throughout youth baseball as well. The last several years, it's just like, that's why it's exhausting. As a coach, that's why it's exhausting. Not the kids. The kids are fine. The kids are great to be around because of all the things we've already said. But when you see and when you hear the parents competing with each other through their kids, it's like, do you have any idea how stupid you sound and how stupid you look? It's unbelievable.
Well, you see it too, like even, St. Louis youth hockey, like you look at the AAA.
Oh my gosh.
You got whatever, I think it's the first year that kids can play AAA. It's like 9 years old, or
I think it's 8 or 9.
8 or 9.
Yeah.
And, I don't know how many times I saw it where kids didn't play AAA until their, U16 year, U15 year. And they move on, they go play college, all this, they play junior hockey. And Joe Schmo, who was playing, all the way up until that point, he gets cut that year. And the parents can't figure it out. Like, why? But then you look at all these parents that put so much emphasis just on having a AAA jacket. I'd rather a kid go play, have a good coach, get good skill development all the way up until his U14 or U15 year, and then boom, he's ready to go.
Yeah.
Versus now, it's just like, okay, what my kid's playing AAA, and that's all parents care about is telling all their friends their kid plays AAA. They get a AAA jacket.
It's also crazy. Like a status symbol too, because the cost of AAA hockey.
Yeah, exactly.
That's another thing too.
Oh, it's insane.
It's like, you're paying $20,000. I'm paying $25,000 for my kid to play hockey. Right? It's like you're a dumbass.
My kid's 8 years old and playing, rec league at Chesterfield, and I'm only paying like $3,000. It's like,
and my kid's still going to do really well too, as long as he still loves the sport.
Yeah, that's
the whole idea of it. Right. Oh my gosh, yeah. That could be a soapbox that we could
we could go down that rabbit hole forever.
Yeah.
It's insane to me. You just shake your head when you hear these parents talk.
Yeah. Well, I mean, why would you, if your parent is that way though? I mean, same thing like we were saying about hockey, because it's so true how much more relaxed the game is.
Yeah.
Why would you have the same drive when your parents have been shoving it down your throat since you were 8 years old?
Yeah. I mean, you don't.
You don't.
You don't.
Right.
Why would you? I wouldn't care about the sport if that was the case.
No.
I love the sport only because my parents weren't assholes about it.
Yeah. Well, people ask me all the time about my dad. Like, my dad played in the NHL. He never once forced me to play hockey. He didn't care if I played hockey or not. And he never made me do extra practices. He was never down my throat. He just let me kind of do as I wanted to do. There's points in time where I maybe wish he would have pushed me a little bit more.
Sure.
But, at the end of the day, he just kind of let me make my own decisions. I don't think I started playing actual rec hockey. I think it was my first year at Kirkwood. I think I was a peewee. I was a peewee or second year squirt, for me. And that's when I started.
So how old would that be?
9, 10 years old.
Okay.
Right around there. Yeah, 9, 10 years
Squirt
old.
Pee-wee gets into 10, 11, 12. Yeah. Something like that.
I never played mite hockey. I never played anything. And then I think it was my second year squirt. I decided, I want to play hockey now. My dad's like, all right, we'll play.
Yeah. And lo and behold, you turned out to be a pretty good player.
Same story. I played 2 years AAA. I played my U16 year, which I was, I think I was in middle school. I played U16 year with Cam and all those guys with the 84 birth year. And I played midget major. Or midget minor, and then I moved on, played junior hockey, and then I played college. So
doesn't seem that complicated to me.
No, pretty simple.
I'll be completely honest with that one. Let's go on to that second question now. So this is much more related to the strength training and the fitness industry in general, because we can go down a lot of rabbit holes with this one too. But basically, the question is, what protocols, methods do you utilize when training those high-level athletes compared to any Gen Pop you work with?
Yeah.
We say Gen Pop. Obviously, it's a very generalized, literally term.
Yeah.
But...
Oh.
Unbelievable. Don't ever get friends, guys. Your parents, they're scumbags.
That's why I don't have friends. None.
But yeah, so what are those methods that you utilize? And you don't have to complicate it necessarily, but you can if you want, because obviously we'll be down for that conversation. But yeah.
It's such a loaded question, and I'll break it down as simple as I can. I think everybody can benefit from training like an athlete. Obviously, your high-level athletes are totally different when you're writing the programs. But when breaking down general pop, keep it interesting.
Yeah.
Like it's that simple. Like for me, unless they come to you with certain goals, keep it interesting and have fun. And that's really it. Like, it's as simple as I can get it. And really at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Like when you're running, 4-week training blocks for athletes, right? Your periodization's all leading up to the season, right? You can add in eccentrics, you can add in tempo, you can do all these different things throughout an entire program with general population. Because guess what? They're not training for, a season. They're not training for a big game, a big fight, anything like that. So you can just mix it up and have fun with it. And that's what I do with my general population people. I add in jumps, throws, like I said, at any point of the workouts. Like, it's just, there's no reason to overcomplicate with general pop. And I think that's what too many people do. Just keep it fun, keep it interesting.
Right.
It's that simple.
Well, and when you incorporate those things, the runs, the jumps, the throws, all that stuff, like, you're also not going to be hurting all the time. People that don't play sports, or they're getting older in adulthood and things like that, they're always complaining about their knees hurting, their back hurting, things like that.
Yeah.
But it's just like, if you train a different way,
Yeah.
we can fix those without you paying medical bills upon medical bills and pills and all this other stuff, painkillers, whatever. But like you said, it's also just fun to train like an athlete. That's why we continue to do that, and we talk about it all the time. Yes, bodybuilding can be super fun to do as well.
Yeah.
Good pump, feels great. It does. The aesthetics that can come with it, that's awesome. But if you want to be able to live life normally, walk around normally, go play a sport with your buddies if you want to, go throw a football around, frisbee or whatever, it's fun to be able to continue to do those things and not be dead.
Yeah, not be super sore.
Yes, exactly.
Well, even if you have kids, right? To be able to
That's
play
a
with
great
your kids,
point.
I think that's a big part of it too. So, yeah, no, I'm a big believer in training like an athlete. And like I said, I'm not going to shove my methods and my philosophies down somebody's throat. Like I try and give people what they want, right? And you have to, that comes in a point where it's constantly, again, building relationships with your clients. How are you feeling? What are you looking for? What do you want? And those type of things I think matter. And I think too many coaches will just blindly just say, you know what, this is what we're doing. This is my way, and not even listen to their clients. And I think that's the biggest mistake you can do, because again, they're going to end up leaving. So for me, it's okay, listening to my clients. What are their wants? What are their needs? Okay, they want a little hypertrophy too, as right? They like chasing the pump. All right, we'll do that. Like I have a client to me, he comes to me and I swear to God, he wants to do chest 3 times a week.
So he's like, I love this guy.
Legs. He wants chest. He doesn't want to do legs. He doesn't want to do anything else. He wants to do chest 3 times a week. And I'm like, all right, I guess, I got to give it to him, right?
Bro, I love this guy, Brock.
He cracks me up, and his bench has gone up. But like I said, he's an older client, and to me, it's like, all right, I have to give him what he wants. I've explained to him why I don't think that's beneficial. But
he doesn't care.
He doesn't care. He's paying me. He's paying me, so I have to listen to him and give him what he wants. So we do chest 3 times a week. I just have to break it up how we do it. So like we'll do strength one day, we'll do super chase the pump the next day, and then the third day I'm like, all right, what are we gonna do here? Let's just crapshoot it. Like just
we do some med balls here, Bosu push-ups.
Hey, we can start hitting our teammates with Bosu balls, like we were talking about before the episode.
I know, right?
Maybe that's an option for him.
Start hitting them with Bosu balls and bouncing around. Yeah,
right.
Throwing med balls at his abs or something.
Most of the time I just make it up.
Yeah.
I don't even write him a program. He just comes in. I'm like, all right, what can I do off the top of my head?
That's like the best client though to have too. General population.
Oh, he's hilarious.
It's a blast. Yeah.
It's hilarious. He couldn't even, when he came in, I will say this, he couldn't even pick up the 50-pound dumbbells. And now he's benching like 85-pound dumbbells, and I think he's 63 years old. So I mean, he's doing, it's awesome. He's
Mitch
made
can't even do that.
But it's really cool.
Straight bullet.
I love seeing that type of progress. And I said, training like a bodybuilder, it's a never-ending fight. Especially in the strength conditioning industry. Like you don't chase the pump, you don't train like a bodybuilder. It's bullshit. Because every athlete can benefit by hypertrophy, especially earlier on in the program.
Sure.
Like you want athletes to get a little bit of mass, right? That's the way you train them. Like so early in the phases of the program, I do hypertrophy, I change, and you know what? It's also fun for them.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Tell me an athlete that doesn't want to chase a pump and get a little pump going.
100%.
Like, and that's
every single one of them.
Well, that's exactly it. Yeah. Like, and to completely negate that from them, it's ridiculous. So that's why I'll add it in through the program, and I'll put in biceps and triceps at the end of workouts, and it doesn't matter where they're at in their faces. I put it in there.
Right.
Well, it's what you said though, that these guys are going to benefit from that to some degree too. That excess tissue that comes along with hypertrophy work 100% will benefit these athletes. Well, because the majority of your training is that strength and power a lot of the times, or whatever everybody else thinks about. But the excess tissue that comes along with hypertrophy 100% is useful.
And I think that people miss the mark on that heavily. Like they spend a lot of time in their early phases trying to rebuild the tissue work, and they talk about the isometrics and all those things. And like I said, chase the pump. I love it. Yeah. Chase the pump. Chase the pump early in the phases.
What are some of your biggest pet peeves with the current fitness industry?
Oh.
Since we're kind of on that topic already.
I have so many of them.
Wurtz and I were like, we got to make sure to ask him this one.
The first one I thought of talking about responding to your client's needs was a lot of people don't respond or, turn toward their clients, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's a service-based industry. And a lot of people, it seems like to me, don't respond to that service. They say, this is what you get.
This is what you're doing.
Hit the road. And it seems like a lot of people are pretty rigid in that.
Yeah. They don't stray away from that. It's my way or the highway.
It'd be like being a contractor, building a house or something. It's like, no, this is so I'm going to build your house.
I'm going to build a house.
It's like, wait, really? What? I had the idea, but okay, all right, I'll pay you anyway. It's like, what?
So true. So true. But yeah, the trends in the industry, like the basics of strength and conditioning are pretty interesting, right? And I think most people understand them. It's when we get greedy and we want to shove our philosophies down people's throats, even though there's no support or anything to support their claims. And like, it's, don't back squat, the trap bar is not a real deadlift. I could go on and on about them. Like, it's none of these, don't round your back. Like, it's,
that one's bad.
Don't do abs. Yeah. Like, don't do abs.
That round your back one, by the way, that was based off a dead pig study.
Dead
correct?
pigs. Yeah, it was dead pig,
Yeah.
And that's what they based that whole thing off. But a guy like Mike Boyle, again, and some people love Mike Boyle, but again, he's taken his philosophies and he's turned people away because of fear. And that's what he's based a lot of his philosophies off of. The same idea with the back squat. Listen, I don't love the back squat, but guess what? It's beneficial. And it's been proven to be beneficial. There's nothing out there that says don't back squat. Like, I'm sorry to say, but you got Saquon Barkley, who's, probably one of the best athletes in the NFL. Have you seen his back squat videos? I think he's doing pretty good.
Right.
I watched one where he can cleaned 450.
Yeah.
Or something like that when he was in college.
That was in college.
I was like, what is wrong with this kid?
And guess what? That dude a couple weeks ago jumped over a guy backwards.
So
backwards. I think he's doing okay.
In full speed in an NFL game, he did it. Like, it's just crazy to me. People make these claims. Like, at the end of the day, it's all bias. It's all bullshit. It's to sell their programming, to sell themselves.
Right.
And at the end of the day, like I said, I was very, again, you take even the unilateral bilateral argument. It's bullshit too. You make the body symmetrical. Well, guess what? Our bodies are asymmetrical. So like all these arguments, one of the best things that I did, I met, Kyle, Compound Performance, and, in everything that I thought, I was very one way, and it's opened up my eyes and to really dive back into to strength conditioning and the basics is like, it's all bias, and at the end of the day, when you look at the facts, everything's beneficial. It's just given the time and place. What are your athletes' needs? What are their weaknesses? What is your general population needs? Everything is beneficial. And the more you realize that, the more tools you have on your belt. And that's the reality of that.
I love that.
Getting away from the fitness piece of it, it seems like on the more socialized piece is that you said a lot of people impart their philosophy on people. And it seems like the goal of a lot of folks nowadays is to get exactly what you said, to raise themselves up rather than raising others up. And that seems like a big trend there is that.
That's why I hate it. Like, and you guys see me like on Instagram, like, I'm not trying to sell anything. Like, I don't care if you don't like what I'm putting out, that's fine. But like, I'm trying to put out honest, good content. And the reason I do that is just so people understand that, right? This is all bias. It's not the case. I don't know how many people just love going to the gym and back squatting, and then they'll see a video or somebody put out content of why you shouldn't back squat. And all of a sudden now they're second guessing it. It's like, we're putting up more barriers in this industry 100%. Than taking down. And that's the biggest issue I have. It's the same thing. Like I see it through women all the time with my wife, Brett. All these different diets, people don't know what to do anymore, whether it be diet, fitness, it's all just a crapshoot now, and it shouldn't be that complicated, and people shouldn't be that afraid to do things that they love. And it's crazy.
And if someone wants to do chest 3 times a week,
if they want to do chest,
listen, I'm going to tell you why maybe we shouldn't, but
Yeah.
I'm also not going to tell you no. Like, absolutely no.
It's not going to hurt you.
You're right.
He's still going to get a lot of good benefits out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, he's 63
He
doing
looks
85
a little more
pound dumbbells.
buffer too. Like at the end of the day,
100%.
He's happier. I mean, he's happy.
That's all it is right there. And I want to go back to where you were talking about the fear and the asymmetrical aspect.
Yeah.
The best chiropractors, and I bet you would agree with this, the best chiropractors I know, they say the exact same thing. They say, do not sell people on fear.
Yeah.
I'm here to help you.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah,
I'm here to help you. I'm not here to tell you you're broken and your body, you need to be put back into place this way or something like that. It's not that. It's I'm here to help. I'm here to give you a chance to have a better life through these treatments. Okay, cool. And that could go for any, pain specialist or whatever. Same methods there too. But I thought that was interesting that you mentioned that. And, like the fear aspect is real. Like a lot of people tell you one thing and it's like this move. What about this movement? I have clients ask me that all the time. It's like, what about this movement? And I'm like, it actually is a really solid movement. A lot of people talk about it being not a great movement, but you could use it in this context, or this other movement you could use in this context.
There's great
and whatnot.
ways to use it, right?
No movement is inherently bad. Machines aren't inherently bad, just like barbells, kettlebells, dumbbells, etc., are not inherently bad either.
No,
I
I love machines. Like I said, I mean, if you can tell me that I can put less stress on my athlete's body and still gain hypertrophy on it, I mean, It's beneficial, right? It's just like the bench press. I mean, how many guys out there you see don't bench press? It's like, what are we? Why?
It's the most tested movement out there. What
Like,
are you talking about?
even like the bench press, it's great for power. It's great for strength. And if if somebody struggles with the dumbbells, obviously the dumbbells are going to be a harder movement. Dumbbells are great for hypertrophy, but bench is great for power and strength, and that's always going to be key. It's the same thing with the squat. I mean, like I said, you can go on down the list with all those movements, but at the end of the day, they're all beneficial.
Yeah.
And it's just how you use them, why you use them.
Yeah.
So.
Last kind of follow up on this segment here. Give some advice to young coaches, coming up in the game, even us, what's some of your best advice for young trainers, young coaches? What would you say to them?
Just be open and adapt and constantly be learning. There's always going to be somebody in the room who's smarter than you. And that's one of the things is I think when you get coaches who think they know it all, they struggle because again, a guy like Mike Boyle, at one point he was the know-it-all. Everybody went to him and thought so highly of him. And then now in the industry, I mean, people look at him and it's like, well, he's full of shit. Like 90% of the things that he says is full of shit. And that's the thing. I think it's constantly chasing adaptation, being open to change and understanding that you don't know it all.
Yeah.
That's key. And then again, build relationships. Just chase relationships. That's to me, if I could give anybody advice is chase relationships. And, it's like one of the other questions I get from a lot of strength coaches, especially younger guys starting out, is like, how do I grow my clientele? Get involved, coach. What sport did you play? I played soccer. Okay. Coach a soccer team, start pulling athletes from there. That's one of the keys you can do. Be involved, get out there, coach teams, talk to parents, and that's how you grow your clientele. And that's one of the keys by far.
Yeah. No, that's good. All right. Shifting topics completely here.
Yeah.
Okay. This is always a fun one for us. And, like you say in the intro, we get fired up here, but in a very general sense, what are your current thoughts on the state of the country and just everything going on? I know that you want to talk about an open-ended question there or a loaded question.
I think we're heading in the right direction now.
Yeah.
We're heading in the right direction.
It's steps. It's small steps, It's
gonna take a little bit, but I think you're seeing the tides turn. I think fucking Trump Time Person of the Year. I mean, tell me that's not tides
That's
turn.
crazy.
Right?
That to me that right there just tells you what direction we're heading in again. I think that's huge.
Yeah.
Time Person of the Year, Donald Trump. I never thought I'd see the day.
No,
so
never.
That's huge. I mean, and the landslide of the election, I think it just goes to show people are sick and tired of the bullshit. That's really it. I think we're heading in the right direction, the direction we need to head. Because if we didn't, God knows what would happen in this country. I was scared. I really, truly thought somehow they were going to sway this election. They were going to win the election. I don't know what was going to happen. But if they did this, that was the end of America as we know it, right? I mean, it was a god-awful direction.
Yeah, it would have been full turn the opposite way entirely. Yeah. And the thing is, too, is you run into the aspect because we're trying to keep on a lot of our conservative friends and people who are voting for Trump and whatnot. It's like, hey, yes, he's in.
Yeah.
We got to hold the promises now.
Yeah.
We got to actually do the right things the next 4 years and on if we want to continue this. Because if we don't continue this, we're not going to get any wins out of it. Yeah. It's just, okay, he won the election and that's it.
That's it.
And and also it's like you got to a degree reach over the aisle to people and work with them. Because it's like Wurtz and I are two people who are always down to have conversations with anybody about this type of stuff too.
And we do.
And we do all the time. Yeah. And it's like it's not about going at, we just crushed the libs or something like that. It's not that.
Yeah.
We're trying to make the country better for everybody here.
Right.
I mean, it was a little sweet though.
It was
a little sweet. I mean,
I'm not going to
lie. I live in Kirkwood. My neighbor had a Madame President bullshit sign, and I might have said, "Hey, who won the election?" Just rubbing it in a little bit. But everywhere you drive in Kirkwood is all these Madame Presidents and Harris, Waltz, and all this bullshit. I was just like, fuckers.
Bro, what is it with Trump and beating women too?
I know, right?
He's always beating women in elections.
I loved it. I was so happy, and it made my day just seeing that when he won. I was like, the first thing I'm going to say something to my neighbor. First thing I'm going to say something.
You know what's so interesting about Kirkwood though? Because those of you that don't know Kirkwood, Missouri, it's a very
super
nice, for example, a clean area, but it's all super liberal. Yeah. So it's always funny because I think a lot of those people, they vote that way just to make themselves feel good.
Yeah.
It's a side of
virtue
like,
signal.
it's a virtue signal.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
It's virtue
and
signal.
it's not like they're doing it for the benefit of their other neighbors or anything else. It's like, oh, I'm a good person because I voted this way. I voted for women or whatever, whatever you want to call it. And they say that you did this, that it was attached to Kamala, because that's what it was. It was really just, they were trying to emotionally drag people into it.
Yeah.
And there was no actual real policy or logic behind it. It was just, hey, come with us because we do like this.
Well, it drives me nuts too, because like I look at these people who have, the Black Lives Matter flags in their yard and stuff. And, for me, I look at it, and I try to be cautious when I talk about it, because again, I work with a lot of athletes that are Black, and the reality is like when I see that, and then I see, like somebody like me who's heavily involved in trying to change these kids' lives and doing something for them and making a difference. Like, what are you doing outside of just putting a sign up in your
That's all they're doing.
Yeah.
And that's
people
what
have a sign up,
pisses
that's
me
all they're
off.
doing.
Like, I think as a society, we have to give a shit about each other and actually do something about that to help each other, and not just virtue signal. And I think too many people do that. And that's where we go wrong, is we're more worried about our appearance than actually what we're doing. And I think that in doing, this country gets better. And I think that more people need to give a shit, dive in, do the hard things, and again, give a shit about other people.
Right.
St. Louis is a great example of that too, because St. Louis has a very much so like has a good population outside of the city, but then in the city, people are struggling, and that includes the Black communities and whatnot. And it's what you said, the people that they vote more left in the city a lot of the times. They do that. They'll vote left. They'll talk about the stuff, but they'll never put any action into the communities at all.
No.
They'll never do any rebuilding in Ferguson, for example, or whatnot after that stuff. They won't actually invest in local businesses in that area or whatnot. They'll just kind of talk about, hey, I did this. I care about Black Lives Matter. And it's like, these people don't even, they couldn't give a shit about the Black community.
No.
They couldn't at all.
Right.
They don't do anything for them.
No, of course not.
I'm curious, what do those kids from East St. Louis, do they know what's going on? Do they know what's happened
I don't know.
in the past?
It's hard to say. I think that social media is a crazy tool, and I think that social media has been a big driver in a lot of their beliefs and stuff. And I think that as a community as a whole, nothing's being done for them, and just get sick and tired of seeing them being taken advantage of, whether it be for the vote. And I think that this year was finally a true test of a lot of people waking up. I mean, you look at Atlanta. In Atlanta, how heavily they voted for Trump, and I mean a lot of predominantly Black communities. And I think it's important. Like at the end of the day, everybody just wants an opportunity to succeed, and it's trying to give them the tools to succeed. And I think that there needs to be more of that. I think the one to do that is Trump. I mean, you look at a lot of the stories that have been come out about him helping certain types of people, and he's an avid believer in, here, listen, I'll give you the tools to succeed. You just got to do it.
I mean, he's gone from McDonald's worker to president. It's crazy.
It's so true. So true.
Somebody said,
so funny.
somebody said, I found the McDonald's worker who caught the United Healthcare shooter, and it was Trump in the window. I'm like, this is so stupid.
That's priceless.
This is dumb as hell. Oh my gosh, but I love it. I love it.
It is very encouraging though.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something, Trump got in. Well, we do still have a month left until he actually is, So number
That
one,
is true.
he can't do anything yet.
Yeah.
He just can't. He doesn't have those powers yet. And number two, when he does inevitably get in, again, get sworn in, and all of these appointments that he's making for the different positions, once they all get in, what we have to do as citizens is accountability.
Yeah.
And hold them accountable to do what they're saying. And so, yes, it's great. We all believe it's great that Trump won again.
Yeah.
And we think a lot of these appointments are great. Some not so much, maybe. But we think a lot of them are good and solid people. But at the end of the day, if we don't hold them accountable, nothing changes.
Yeah, nothing changes.
Just because there's an R in the White House now instead of a D, that doesn't necessarily just change anything. So the biggest thing is we have to hold him accountable and say yes to things and say no to things as well.
I trust him. Like I think he's on the right path, and do you agree with some of the appointments he's made? No, but again, he's not an idiot. He's got a lot of people advising him, and I think I love the Musk thing. Like I love the fact that Musk heavy in Vivek is Vivek too. I think that's huge too. I think they're going to do a great job of cutting all the fat. Like there's so much fat. Like even the FBI and all these things that they talk about. I mean, that's the reality. Is there's so much fat through our government systems that need to be cut. and they're going to do it. And I love that. I mean, there should be a lot of people afraid right now because they've been freeloading off the government for I don't know how long, and us, for that matter.
Hopefully TSA is the first one to go.
I know, right? Fucking bastards. Every time I have a beard, I get
I was traveling to Charlotte. Yeah, seriously though. I was traveling to Charlotte and I had to deal with that bullshit.
Yeah.
You'd think the mustache would get you caught even worse than that.
Won't, but anytime I have a beard, man,
interesting.
Britt and I laugh. I said, here we go. Sure enough, boom. TSA.
I mean, the U.S. federal government is the largest corporation in the U.S. 12 million employees. The next closest one, I think, was like Walmart.
It's scary, man. It really is. Like the things that the government do and can get away with. I mean, it's endless, right? So it'd be nice to have somebody come in and try and end a lot of that. Again, he stands for everything they don't, and that's what they hate about him. I mean, look at the depths of what they gone to try and get him out or to kill him. I mean, that's the reality of it.
Right.
That's all them. Like, there's no doubt about it. So it'll be
it's not Iran.
No, it's all
it's
them.
It's the government.
We're not idiots here. Like, I think we've been pretty smart through COVID and everything else. God forbid that whole fiasco. So,
yeah, it was just
we've all been on the same page.
I'll stick to that.
Did we even tell him that we got an episode pulled for that?
Oh yeah,
for
we
the
were
vid?
ripping
For
on
the
COVID.
vid?
That's the whole thing we talked about. And it got pulled off YouTube.
It was a joke.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I know a lot of people lost their lives, but at the end of the day, we all knew what it was. It was a sham. Not sorry for saying it.
100% it was.
You know?
Yeah.
How much? I think that's something that was hidden though a lot of the times is that we acted like a virus with a 99.5 plus percent survival rate or whatever it was. That's also what the flu is.
Yeah.
You know, those viruses come around oftentimes. Like that is a very common virus, and like sadly enough, death is a part of life. Yeah. And I hate to say that, but it's like. It wasn't like half the population.
No,
it was like the Black Plague or something like that.
Pre-existing conditions and everything else, and all of a sudden the flu disappeared, which is wild to me.
Yep.
Yeah. Never knew the flu could disappear, but it did.
Went
and then it came back.
It's smart.
And then it came back. It's more dangerous.
How much do we subscribe to the fact as us, just four guys sitting in a basement, can change the larger landscape of the U.S.? So the way I'm kind of going with this is, Brock, you mentioned your direct work with athletes in St. Louis. Is it more of a local level? Can we affect at a local level enough of a change to go to a larger?
It's all local. I think it's all local. I think what these guys are doing, all you guys are doing with the podcast and everything else you guys do, and like knowing you guys personally, you're good ass people and you care about others and you do what you can. I think the daily interactions that we've had have been awesome. And I think that it's people like that can change the world, and I think that's truly how you do it. It's all local. It's all small city, it's your interactions with the guy at the gas station. All those things make a big difference. I love the guy at the gas station. His name's Daryl. I talk to him every morning.
Let's go, Daryl.
And I know everything about the guy's life. He talked about, my family. He asked about my family. I asked about his. I mean, those are the type of interactions within your community that are going to make the biggest difference. And I think that's how we do it.
Yeah,
I love that. Yeah. I absolutely love that.
It's really simple.
It is. We're not here to complicate the matter.
Training, life. We're just trying to simplify things.
Yeah, 100%. And that the whole simplifying life in that way too. It really does work on the local level. That's why it's hard for me. I always rant to people sometimes about how almost all the purchases some people do are through Amazon a lot of times, or we go to all the big corporations. Like I'll even go to Costco a lot of times, and it's like. We need to find ways we can purchase these little things out of our ways from the local businesses, interact with the local employees, all that stuff.
You got to talk to my wife, Brett. You got to have that conversation. Sorry, Brett. She's probably going to watch this and kill me, but she loves Amazon delivery guy. She loves a Target delivery guy too. She's got Target on, what is it? Full speed text.
Speed dial.
Like, who are you texting right now? Oh, the Target delivery guy. Excuse me.
Who are you talking to? Am I fucking chopped liver?
It's awesome.
What is this?
No, it's great. She does. She again, we live a fast-paced life, and it's hard sometimes when we don't get to go shopping, and it's very convenient. But it is true. Like shopping at a local level, those type of things make a big difference. Small businesses, man, like makes a world of difference for them.
Hey, no shame. My girl Holly, same way.
Loves
Amazon. Absolutely loves it.
Amazon every day. I see the driver out. I'm like, oh, here we go. What do we got? What'd she get today?
What I buy
every time, dude. I joke with him. What'd she get today? I don't know. We got a few packages from this.
It's like, oh, honey, this can help do this. And it's like, Didn't we get something for that last week too?
I know.
Like, holy,
I know.
holy shit.
Sometimes I'll ask her. She's like, they're paper towels for the gym. Like, okay, I understand that. All right, we're good. We're
Perfect.
That makes sense. Okay, yeah, that adds up.
But what are the other 3 boxes?
What are the other 3? Yeah, she'll get something we need, and then a few other ones. Like,
Oh man, yeah, and that's the thing. A company like Amazon isn't inherently bad either. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that, you know, if you can buy one product from a local company and start there, that's great.
Yeah,
you know, because it's not like you have to completely shift all your purchasing habits now.
It's not going to happen.
To do it's just not. There's no way. There's no way, because it would, like you said, it wouldn't be efficient.
Yeah,
that's the beauty about Amazon. And you could also find, luckily enough, we found a lot of local companies as well with random little stuff that have been really efficient with the small random miscellaneous stuff. So that's good too, but that takes time. Yeah, it's taken years for us to find those companies and whatnot, especially in my life. Wurtz is, I know the same, that with that Mitch is the same. It's not easy, but it can be done. So it's no hate to anybody buying Amazon or something like that.
We love you.
Does it.
Support Amazon.
Shut up, Britt. Hey, Britt. Sorry. Gosh.
She's not going to be mad at me about the mustache. That'll probably do it.
The Amazon purchase will do it.
Oh, yeah, the Amazon purchase comment.
It'll
just
take the
sold
attention
you down
off
the
of the
drain.
I'm going to
mustache.
go home and I'll be sleeping on the couch. And actually, no, let's go live. So I got a day or two to
You're right.
find my time.
Yes. Be really
tonight
nicer
you'll be fine.
tomorrow.
Tell me when you guys launch it. I'm be like, that's it. I'm sleeping on the couch.
Honey, skip this part from 40 minutes to 45 minutes.
What happened? Oh, they didn't upload it. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it was crazy. There's a
lost the
blip.
film.
They lost the footage.
We'll send you an edited version just for Britt.
It was the FBI.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about COVID. So
Well, yeah, probably another poll from us there. Let's go on to the 4th question. This is one I'm really excited about, actually. Meeting Raquela for the first time, especially the other night at
She's
S2
locked
party.
in on you, too.
my-
She's got her first crush, I think.
Wow. Whoa! Oh my gosh! But yeah, I mean, meeting her is just, this leads right into this question perfectly. And so it's, as you've stepped into your role as a father, now how is your outlook on life, training, your relationship with Britt, all of it? How has it changed?
It's wild because everything I think about is providing her like with a good life. Like for me, like it's like, all right, what can I do next to just set her up for a good life, to never want, to never need for anything. It's just like everything I think about has to do with her. Like even when I'm angry or in the car and I just want to yell at somebody, like she's in the back, like, and I change that. Like before I'd be a hothead, right? It's just every little thing. Like it just changes your whole outlook on life. She's the most beautiful thing I've ever laid eyes on. And you know, you tear up even talking about her. It's just, she's like, even last night, Britt went to dinner and I had her in my arms last night, let her play on the bed for a little bit. And she sleeps with either Britt or I, or we'll switch in the night. And it's just the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Like it truly is. Like it's so special, and all the struggles and everything I've ever gone through. You know, again, I talk about suicide. It's like, you know, if I would have been successful, like I wouldn't get to experience this part of life and how beautiful it is. And, you know, and I think that so many people go through with it, or they fall through with it and they're successful and they don't get to experience this, like this beautiful. And this is my beautiful is my wife, my son, and my daughter. To me, they're the most important people in the world. Nothing else matters. Like I could care less what else happens. As long as I have them, I'm fully complete. And it changes your whole outlook just from a daily perspective of her growing, her personality, you know, the little things that she does she gets it from Britt, the things that she gets from me, which is her scowl. Her scowl, like she gets my scowl. It's so funny. You know, her little legs and butt, you know, it's just, she has my lower half, and God love her, poor thing. Poor thing.
You're just like, what did my genetics
I
do
know,
to my
what are
daughter?
But again, it's just everything I see in her is just so beautiful. It's you can't explain it. And I had so many people tell me, you know, and I went into it, you know, I had Lucas, and everybody says, well, wait till you have your own. Wait. And, you know, part of me, I was offended when he would hear that, right? But now I understand, like it's something that you cannot explain, the love that you have from, like I would do anything for her.
Yeah.
She already has me wrapped. I mean, that little girl's going to run my show.
Oh,
and I am so okay with
She's
it.
going to run your pockets too.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Whatever she wants. Like
It's. I feel like it's going to be so hard to say no when that time comes.
Oh, it
too.
is.
She's going to ask for something. You're going to be like, I probably should say no, but
yeah.
But do I really want to?
I know, right?
All?
It is. It's hard. That'll leave that up to Brett because I could say no to Lucas. I have no problem.
Exactly.
You know, she has trouble saying no to him. So, like I said, it's a beautiful thing. It's so fun.
One conversation I just recently had. One of my good friends, he's actually from Uganda. And we had the conversation, a lot of younger people our age are having issues with everything has to be perfect before you have kids.
Yeah.
Your finances have to be in order. Your life has to be in order. Your fitness has to be in order. Everything has to be perfect. And he told me his parents from Uganda, they had nothing. They had no money, nothing. And then ends up, he lives in Texas now. His parents are doing great. And they're running for government positions in Uganda and running a successful real estate business. And it seems like he's so grateful for that because if they would have waited until their life was in order, they never would have been here. And I think we see that a lot of the time. So I wonder if that's you could lend some perspective on that.
Well, it's never a perfect time, right? I don't think there ever is a perfect time. To be honest, we're grateful that we had her. Like I thought there was something wrong with me. I'm like, we it's not that we weren't trying or trying, but we just, it was what it was. And we hadn't been successful. And it was, we were getting ready to go on a trip to St. Thomas. And when we got back from the trip, I was actually going to go get tested and see, what was going on and figure out why we hadn't had a kid yet. So I'll never forget, we were in St. Thomas and Britt was kind of sick. And she was kind of feeling uneasy, and she made a joke about being pregnant. And I said, "You really think so?" And I was like, "I'm going to go get a test." So like we went to the restaurant that night. We were with a bunch of our friends, and went in, got a test from the place we were at. And I'll never forget, I was laying on the bed, and she was in the bathroom, and all of a sudden I hear her start laughing, and I'm like, "You got to be fucking kidding me! No way!" Dude, she came out of the bathroom crying, laughing her ass off, and I'm like, "No." She's like, "Yes." So that's how we found out Britt was pregnant, was in St. Thomas, and just
that's
so
crazy.
happened. So, and that's how it happened. Like it was, I still laugh thinking about it because I heard her laughing in the bathroom, like, "You got to be fucking kidding me! No way, we're actually pregnant." And then that was it. So, like I said, we own a business. We're constantly busy 24/7. There's so many things going on. And is it the right time? Probably not. Would there have been a better time? Yeah, maybe we were a little more successful and we had a little more peace in our lives, but it was what it was.
So I wonder if it almost causes you not necessarily to be more successful, but it causes you to work toward a larger thing than you. You mentioned that you do everything for them, and it seems like that's what kids causes you to do. Instead of me and me in my life, it's them, and it makes you almost grow up and out.
It instantly becomes about them, like instantly. Your whole life, like it revolves around them at that point. Like when she can't feed herself, she can't wipe her own ass, like all these things. Everything you do is for them, and that's all you think about at that point. Like it's, we're already like, where's she gonna go to school? Like there's just so many different things that you think about, and you're just like, it just changed your world.
Because how old was Lucas when you first met Britt? When you guys first got together.
I think he was 2, 1.5, 2.
Okay,
so he was still,
still a baby.
I was changing his diapers and shit.
Yeah,
I remember changing his diapers, and you'll never get used to a shitty diaper.
Dude,
the smell, the feeling. I mean, what are we talking?
He just had some stinky shits, and every time I would change his diaper, I'm like, "Oh!" And he would laugh his ass off, man. It was, you gotta. So funny. Oh, you thought it was hilarious. Shit. So you gotta think like.
Take that, Dad.
I went from like struggling in where I was at in life to meeting Britt, becoming best friends with Britt, and then all of a sudden being thrown in this dad position, having a serious girlfriend, which I never had a serious girlfriend my whole life. I think my longest relationship was like 2 months, if that. Yeah. And then now I'm in this position where I just decided to get sober. I found her, and my whole life changed, and I'm a dad. Like it just happens like that.
Yeah.
And it was wild, man. It's just, and then now we went on to start a business, and then we have a baby. It's like, dude, it's just crazy how fast all this can happen.
What were the, and you touched on this a little bit, but what was the difference in feelings between meeting Lucas,
Yeah.
stepping into that role you were just talking
Yeah.
about, and then when Raquela was born? I mean, what were some of those differences?
It's hard to say. Like it's just a feeling, man. It's like when I got to know Lucas, it's a little bit different, right? Because I'm not his blood father, and
Sure.
like there's certain things, like he doesn't call me dad, and like every now and then he will, which is a great feeling. But like I said, it's knowing that was like created in a different part of her life with somebody else.
Sure.
I don't treat him any differently, but it's just a different feeling, right? I look at him with a lot of love and, gratefulness and everything, but like, it's just with her, it's just this, I can't explain it. Like,
Yeah.
it's just a totally different feeling. Now I would never treat them the same or anything like that. And I love them both the same. It's just a different feeling when you see that.
Did you feel like you had to almost earn Lucas's like respect, or
it's like you earn his respect, earn his love. Like it's
that's a
I
good-
think earning his love is how you put it. Which is like you just want him to love you, and you want to be like that for him.
Sure.
Like she's gonna love me. She's gonna have to love me, and
Right.
become her first love. Like it's what a father is to his daughter, and it's truly special. But like for him, it was like one of those things where all I could think about is like, how do I get him to love me, or how do I get him to feel a certain way about me? And that's really was the driver in our relationship, is like, what can I do to get that from him, and to make him feel comfortable and make him feel loved. And, luckily a lot of that was natural. It was just loving him and just being affectionate. And, I'm far more affectionate, I think, than most people. Like in that sense, I'm sensitive. I'm very affectionate, cause I crave that too myself. So like for him, it was just loving him and just being there for him and just trying to build that relationship as well as I can. And that's the hard thing too. Again, you got to remember, he does have a different father, and some days he'll call me dad and some days he won't. And it's back and forth, and it's just not taking anything personal. Like some days he would come in and he would be super affectionate, and he would just, he would be so open. And then sometimes it just wasn't that. And you're like, what did I do? And Britt's like, it's not you. You have to remember that. So it's just different.
Yeah.
Gosh. So what's interesting about this, listening to both the stories about Lucas and Raquela, it's interesting because both of them have a lot of similarities actually in the stories themselves. Because with Lucas, you were like, oh shit, I really love this girl.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump in and be a father now.
Yeah.
Okay. So I stepped up. Now with Raquela, it's like you also are now having to step up again as a father, and whether or not you were trying, and, but it was kind of out of nowhere. Okay. We're pregnant. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. And now I'm ready to jump in again. Do you think that's a big factor, that they should just be ready to handle what's in front of them like that in a way?
Yeah, you have to be. Like, it's a lot. Like, it's a lot. Like the lack of sleep. Like, luckily she's been pretty good with sleep, but it's like, you don't know what to do. Like, you have no idea how to be a good father. You don't know how to handle certain situations. You just do the best you can. And I think most people do. I think it's just being present and being there is key. And another thing is worrying about Britt too, and just making sure that I'm trying to do right by Britt, and do as much as I can on my part. Like, I think that's a big part of it, is like making sure I'm cleaning the bottles, changing the diapers, being present, and just doing the little things, and like actually just wanting to do them, and not making her carry most of the workload. I think from our situation, especially, like, I'm able to be more present than most dads, right? Because like we're with her 24/7. So I'm there. Like, I'm not just getting up, she's left at home, I'm going to work, and then I come home and then I get to spend time with the family. And that's not it. Like, we're both heavily involved. And I think we see that in her. Like, I think she's just so attached to both of us. She just loves us, man. Like, she's with us 24/7, and I wouldn't change that for the world. So anything I do in life is going to be revolved around that, trying to be there for her as much as I can. So I would bet money that that's part of the reason why she's so calm too. Yeah.
Is because she has your guys' soothing presence there all the time too. There has to be at least an aspect of that that comes into play, of like, even her little mind, mom and dad are here.
Yeah.
She
does get like uneasy too, I think, when we're separated. Like, if Britt will, because through all this, we've had to kind of change our schedules. Like, so Britt will go to the gym on certain days and run morning classes, and I'll stay home with the kids. Or, if Lucas is with us, I'll make sure he gets on the bus. And I've had to take on more of that role as well, which is kind of nice, because again, I am more involved in that sense. But, it's just one of those things where, we try and do whatever we can. And for her, she seems to recognize when we are apart. So sometimes she gets a little bit off, and it's, it's a little bit harder for me to calm her down, and I try to do my best. And then same thing with Britt. It's just off and on with that. So it's, like I said, she does notice when we're apart, but for the most part, she's just so chill and so calm.
It's so interesting listening to this too, because to me, listening to you talk about this is just an encouragement for men to strive to be fathers.
Yeah.
All three of us want to be fathers in the future. We're aspiring fathers when it comes to the time. And it's like, there's a lot of men I know where they're what Mitchell was talking about. They don't know if they're ready yet.
Yeah.
All this type of stuff. And the people I'm talking about, these are men that are financially doing well.
Yeah.
And it's like, they're pretty set in their marriage and whatnot. And, but they're also like, I don't know if I'm ready yet and all this stuff. And I'm like, your story is to me an encouragement that you don't necessarily have to be ready.
Yeah.
You don't have to be ready.
Yeah.
It's just like, but if you are a good man, you will be able to do a good job as a father.
Yeah.
And good people should be having kids.
Well, and I doubt myself all the time too, right? Like I still, I don't know if I'm a good man. Like I try to be, right? And, and a lot of people say, well, you're crazy for thinking that. But at the end of the day, it's like, am I a good dad? Like, am I doing the right things? Am I doing right by her? Do I deserve her? Like there's so many thoughts that go in my head, run through my head. But, at the end of the day, if you would ask me if I was ready, I'd tell you, no, not a chance, but I was, right. And I am. And like I said, I'd be the first critic to tell you, no, I have no business having a kid, but I have one and I'm a damn good dad. Like I can sit here now and say that. There's times where I do question it, but for the most part, I think I'm a great dad just because I love her with everything I have.
How could you ever be perfect either?
No, and you're not ever going to, you can't chase perfection. And I think nobody's ever going to be a perfect parent. Like we all mess up. Like there's been times where I get irritated, when she's not laying down or she's really fussy, I'll get irritated and then I get mad at myself. Like you can't, like she doesn't understand, and it's like not beating yourself down in those moments and realizing, hey, like we're all adapting and you're doing the best you can.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of the biblical idea of God doesn't call the equipped. He calls and equips those, right? So that's kind of the biblical idea is you're calling and equipping them at the same time. When you're called to do something, you might not have it all figured out, and that could apply to business, that could apply to life, that could apply to any social situation. You're not going to be perfect, but you're going to be equipped as you go along the way.
Well, and I'm sure, kind of like what we talked about in the first question, just, the roadblocks or the methods you've developed for yourself, like now all of that can circle back to her.
Yeah.
And to Lucas, of course, obviously, but circles back to her. And it's like, you know what? Okay. I am doing a good job.
Yeah.
I am doing what I should be. I am doing good for her, for Britt, for Lucas. I might be struggling in my own mind right now. However, I can turn that, I can flip that and be like, you know what? It's all for her. I got to stop being so selfish here.
And that's a big part of it too, is like, I don't have a choice anymore. Like I don't have a choice to just lay around in bed and just feel sorry for myself. And that's one thing that I struggle with too, with like battling depression, man. I'd lay in bed and just be like, I call it the fuck it mentality. Like I'd just be like, fuck it. Even clients, all that, just wouldn't show up, just battling whatever I was battling. Now, like I don't have that choice. Like I don't have that opportunity. Like you get up and you have to be there for them, and you have to get up and change their diaper and feed them. And there's so many things that you have to do. And it's like, okay, you don't have that option. So you're forced into it. And that's another thing, like with her, she's helped me just as much as I'm helping her.
Yeah. Which is what you were talking about earlier, Mitch. It's just, you might not be ready, but it causes you to grow up and make it happen. You got to make shit happen now. There's no option. Yeah. All right. Well, Mitch, you got anything left to add? No? That's episode 143 there, man.
That's it.
I mean, we can find something to keep going on.
We can dive down a couple more rabbit holes if you want.
I think, like
what happened to JFK?
Oh, shit.
CIA.
Correct.
Yes.
I think, like, again, and one thing I think we didn't touch on as much too is like we talked about struggles and a lot of the things that we battle. I think that's one of the other things that like you go in depth of who I am as a person, and it's trying to spread the message that especially guys, like we struggle a lot of the times in silence, and it's realizing that you're not alone. Like I use my story to try and help others just because it is a powerful story. Like you talk about the substance abuse, the depression, and trying to kill myself. It opens up a lot of eyes because people see what I have and they're like, there's no way that guy struggled. Well, I have, and I still do, like on a daily basis. Like I went through everything and thought I was in the clear, and I had 2 or 3 good years with Brett, and then started to feel a lot of these things again. And I talk about it, online. It's like, I would say about a year ago, I checked into another mental health facility and got the help that I needed because I was struggling again. Like I started getting all those thoughts, like, and then Britt was pregnant too. Like, and that was really hard. But again, it's just asking for help. Like I remember coming home and I was talking to her and I was going through a really tough time. And like, I have to go somewhere right now. Like I'm really struggling. So I went to Centerpoint Hospital and got the help I needed and actually like figured out more in depth of what was wrong with me. And not only like I battled depression, but it was more so I've been taking depression medication for so long that they actually told me that I was bipolar, which made a lot more sense because I'm really high here and I get my lows get really low. So I went in and they helped me actually put me on different medication, and then Britt being pregnant. So it was probably just before she had Raquela, and ever since Raquela and being put on the medication and kind of doing therapy again, like it's put me in a lot better place. But again, it's just telling those stories, opening up, seeking help. I think that makes a massive difference in people's lives. And I think that one of the things that we need to do as men is ask for help.
Yeah.
Talk.
I love that.
Just talk. Talk to each other.
It's the idea of we're more connected than we've ever been.
Yeah.
Social media. It's the easiest time ever in the history of time to be connected to people, but it's also the most alone that people have felt ever too. I think it's just a fantastic story, Brock. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I think I've heard, you go into your full story 2 or 3 times, I want to say, and every time it's just like, oh my gosh, like it is. It's so touching. It's so meaningful too to hear your perspective on it now and the thoughts you share on it now. But it's also why I'm, this is part of the reason we have our Knights Table format, the masculinity format, is not only to talk about these types of topics, but also it's helped us do our different men's groups activities and men's nights. We've been to your men's nights. We've been to other ones. And it's like, you don't have to be in a dark place or struggling to go to those things. No. But when you are around those groups and when you find good, solid relationships, just like we've talked about all throughout this episode, relationships, you figure out why those are needed for you. Because when something might arise, or maybe you are going through something, that's what'll help you get through it. And you've had the awareness and wherewithal that, okay, I need to go somewhere and I need to get that help because that was needed for you. But when you have those guys around you, and for girls, when they have their girls, they're actual girls, because we know exactly, which obviously that happens with men as well. But those tight bonds, those tight brotherhoods, things like that, like it's so important. And that's why we talk about it so much. We kind of have a couple different groups that we spend most of our time with. And then obviously we have great relationships outside of that. But those couple groups that we are very tight with, like they're so important to us, and each one has their purpose in our own lives. And it's so cool to see. It's so cool to sit back and think about it as well. It's like, those guys are so important to me, I don't have any brothers, any blood brothers. I do have 2 right here. Okay. And then the other guys that I've had in my life for a long time, like those are my brothers as well. So I didn't have that built-in brotherhood, like these guys do. But that's why I'm so thankful for guys like this, the other guys that we spend our time with, because it brings so much value and so much good to my life,
It's nice too, because like when you do those things, again, you might not be somebody who's struggling like me, but it's like you might catch early phases of things that you're starting to feel, right? It's like, I'm starting to feel that. And like when people open up, tell their stories, you catch that, right? And it's like, okay, well, I'm kind of feeling some of that now. So it's almost like you preemptively catch it before it gets worse. And I think that's why it's so key, even if you're not somebody who's quote unquote struggles, because again, everybody looks at me and I'm like, well, I'm not struggling like that, so I'm not struggling. Well, it's not the case.
No.
Right.
It's not the case at all, right? Like
hard is hard.
That's one of the biggest issues with men too, is we scale our struggles against everybody else's struggles. And it's wrong to do that because again, what might be extremely important to you might not be to somebody else. And that's what the problem is like when somebody does that, they devalue their struggle. And you can't do that. You can't devalue your own struggle.
Right.
That's huge. And I'll even tell the first men's night we ever went to at Force was, by the way, unbelievable. Unbelievable event. And I remember you talking about how like there are still days where, you're like, I don't want to train clients today at all or whatnot. And I sat there listening to that little part and I'm like, I'm not the only one who feels that way.
Yeah.
Like there are plenty of days where I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm just going to skip work today.
Yeah.
Right.
You just don't feel it. Like it's hard.
Yeah. And like, it's one of those things though, like there's very few people that even want to have that conversation, especially men.
Yeah.
Like these two, the reason they're so close, because I can be like, oh, I can actually have that conversation and be like, dude, I didn't want to do it today. I didn't want to do anything with Untapped.
Didn't have it in you.
Yeah. And it's just like, and they're like, hey, it's all right.
Yeah.
Like we're here together. And it's like, it was very powerful for me to hear that, even in the terminology, because you were talking about scaling it as well. Because I was, at first, when I heard your story, I scaled it. Then you talked about that and I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm just because I didn't have this things happen, I still had these things happen.
Yeah.
And you know, there's no reason for me to compare that to Brock. It's like, I'm still also dealing with stuff and should be improving daily as well, just like he is. Doesn't matter that, you know, or somebody that has even a crazier story than maybe you do and whatnot. Same
Which
thing.
there are guys.
You know,
that
like
are
there still are. There
Sure.
always is. There's always
Sure.
going to be somebody with a different or a crazier or whatever you want to call it story. But that's, like you said, there's no reason as men for us to scale that, because it's 100%. I think a lot of times, like, it's a negative consequence of masculinity that we attempt to, you know, be like, okay, like I'm doing all right. Like I'm just gonna batten down the hatches and I'm fine
I'm just gonna get through
because
it.
I didn't have these things going on.
because I didn't have that.
Yeah.
I'm just going to get through it. And that's not the case. Like I said, you're not going to get through it. Like, especially if it gets worse. Like that's the problem. We diminish it and then it just builds and builds and builds. And then before we know it, we've lost control. But then we can't hide it. Right. And then it becomes a worse problem. So, you know, again, just talking to people, talking to friends. I think that's so crucial. And that's one of the biggest things I say, just talk to somebody. You know, like I said, I have you guys, I have anybody, and you know, so many people through sharing my story that I can reach out to. You know, and I don't always do it, but I know that it's there. And I have a lot of people to check in, like, how you doing? Man, I got off social media for extended period of time, and I had so many messages of people just checking in on me. And like that stuff shows you that people do care about you.
Right.
And I think at the end of the day, that's really all we want. It's just to know that people care about us.
Yeah.
You know, and if we have that, I think it's extremely important and it's valuable.
It's extremely powerful.
On this note, what do you have to say though about people that use it as an excuse? You know, or they're not really. It's like, okay, dude, like,
Are you really
go
struggling?
to work.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. You're tired today.
Yeah.
But go to work.
Yeah.
Get it done. So like, how do you think? So maybe not using it as an excuse, but how do people differentiate the two? Something real or
Yeah, it's really hard. Like
Yeah.
it's hard because you don't know. You don't know what's going on inside of somebody. Like I said, there are people that use an excuse. I mean, you see it all the time on social media. People talking about depression. Let me post a picture of my ass. Right? It's like, hey, you know, seriously,
It's so accurate.
It's like you know,
it's like, man, I've really been struggling lately. Here's a picture
Here's a
of me
picture
in a
of my
thong.
ass. Like,
It's like,
it's
what?
like, are you
click the
shitting
link.
me?
It's like, oh,
Because
interesting.
it's like the
Interesting.
cool topic to talk
Right,
about now.
right,
and,
right.
You know, but at the end of the day, you can't, because again, everybody's struggling in their own right, and I don't know what's behind that. Right.
Yeah.
So again, it's just a shitty thing to do. I mean, that's really all you can say. It's a shitty thing to do, but I can't sit there if somebody's going to tell me like they're really struggling, blah, blah, blah. They're using an excuse. I can't downplay it because they might be.
Sure.
Right? And that's the thing. You never truly know. So.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the problem, is like those people that might be, you know, doing it for just the clicks
Yeah.
and whatnot. That diminishes it when people are dealing with
Yeah,
it
when
for real.
Right.
shit.
Yeah,
Right.
which all of us are dealing with
Yeah.
real shit, but it's like you do not help the problem whenever you're essentially attempting to do this just because you're like, oh, I want to get attention on the internet, and that's it.
And those people are struggling too, whether they like to know it or
Yeah.
not, because
Just a
they're
different way, yeah.
craving attention.
Yep.
Right.
Right.
And they need that kind of attention to feel valuable. I don't understand it, but I feel just as bad for those people. You know, I make fun of
Absolutely.
it because it deserves to be made fun of. But
Right.
you know, at the end of the day, there's something wrong with them too. They're
Yeah.
struggling in some way.
That's real.
No, that's a good point.
You know, so I want to ask too, because you were talking about checking in the facility about a year ago
Yeah.
or so. So maybe 5 years ago, would you have done that same thing? Would you have recognized, okay,
No.
nope, I need to go?
No, because I was
you
so
know?
man. It comes from playing, like even the substance abuse stuff. Like I tried to like hide all of that, and I was so worried about what people thought. Like, you know, I was already a fucking mess. I didn't realize that, you know, people already were talking behind my back and this and that, and like I didn't realize that people already knew I was a mess. I was trying to hide all that, and that's one of the things. Like 5 years ago, I wouldn't have done it because again, I thought I was being secretive or being able to hide it, and nobody knew. But at the end of the day, people knew. You know, I didn't have many people who were like, man, I had like one buddy, Rock. I talk about Rock all the time.
Of course.
Rock and I almost got in a fight because of the fact he called me on my bullshit. But, you know, there was more to it. But again, he was more on the substance abuse side. But again, like when I say I wouldn't have done it, I was so worried about what people thought. And I thought they were going to judge me in a negative light. Little did I know, you know, looking at today and me sharing my story, look at the responses I get.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
it's insane.
Exactly.
Like, I get so much positive messages about it and just realizing I can help people. And that's the biggest difference is now, like, I don't give a shit. Say whatever you want about me, talk about my past, talk about the things that have gone on, but at least I own my shit. I own my shit and I'm trying to help people. And that's when I put that stuff out there, it's to help other people. Like people like, you're so brave. Well, I mean, is it brave? Yeah, but it's really just putting it out there just to help people. Like, I don't care about being brave. I don't care what people think on that side. Is it nice to hear that? Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's not giving a shit what other people think.
You're not posting it for that
I'm
reason.
not posting
You're not talking
for that
about it for that
reason.
reason.
Like, I don't
You're
care.
doing it because it's powerful for somebody,
Yeah.
and you know it is.
Yeah.
You've seen it be active in other people's lives before. You know, and that's because you were talking about the people that do still, like, they talk about it in a negative light behind your back and whatnot. Majority of the times, there's the positive response, as we've seen at your men's nights and whatnot.
And
like that's
most people won't say anything negative to me.
of course.
Right.
And but the thing is, like, I have heard plenty of times where I know somebody I know is struggling.
Yeah.
I hear somebody talk about them and whatnot. They don't have any clue what's actually going on with that person. They'll talk shit and whatnot. And it's like, do you even like step back at all and realize how much you're just trying to cover up for stuff going on in your own life too?
in your own life.
Like, you need to ask yourself questions as well, because the whole hater thing in general is just such a corny act too.
Yeah.
It's all it is just you covering up for other insecurities you have going on. It's the same thing as, like, you know, that would be us to turn around and hating on you for your strength training or your styles of training.
I know.
Right.
That just shows how insecure we are in our own training if we were to do that.
Yeah.
You know, it's that, and that's just a training example. Not to mention, if you're making fun of somebody's life, you got other issues you need to step back and address.
Issues than that.
Which, by the way, that happens all the time in the fitness community with coaches.
Oh,
I mean, it's
immensely.
unbelievable.
You know,
that might be one of my least favorite things.
The only time like you guys will hear me talk about a coach is when I see them putting out content that breaks down what's true and what's not. Like that's the only time. Like, I have a major issue with people putting up walls in the industry, and I'll talk about coaches like that all day because they're putting out false information.
Right.
Like, put out the right information, let people decide what they want to do with it.
Right.
Or at least tell people, hey, this is my own bias, this is my opinion. And that's it.
Yeah.
Then run with it. I respect that. If that's your opinion, great. But don't tell people this is what it is. And these are the facts, because it's not.
Right.
You called out the whole Patrick Mahomes scenario about that same thing.
Oh man, I got so many messages about that too. It's
I was loving it. Wurtz and I were talking about it.
Seriously though, like his
his
coach, like all he does is promote himself. Like he's talking about, like, Patrick Mahomes is a freak athlete.
He's
a freak athlete. The things that he can do are not because of what you're doing in the gym. Now it might help him a little bit,
right?
But those aren't the reasons. He's
It's
just
a supplement.
he's a free. It's a supplement part to it, and he's a great athlete. And the things that he does are because he's creative and he can do them.
Yeah.
And again, you're bothered by that because of the fact that he's promoting it as this is the way or the highway, and that's it.
That's it.
It's like what we talked about with Saquon. What about Saquon then?
Yeah. He's not doing anything crazy. He's not jumping on a Bosu ball or running on a treadmill catching footballs.
The Bosu balls get me every time, dude. It's always the stupid ass Bosu balls.
Those guys can do those things because they're freak athletes.
Correct.
And anytime you see somebody doing something crazy, you know, whether it be Henry when he's doing the banded push-ups with his feet on a Bosu ball, like all that stuff.
There's like 6 different tools in that video of Derrick Henry. It's like, oh my gosh.
Like, he can do that because he's a freak.
Right.
He's a freak.
Right.
But he's a freak because he's doing the basics. And that's why. That's where we lose sight of things. Those guys can do those type of things because they're good at the basics. And that's it. Strength and conditioning. Get good at the basics, hammer those, and I guarantee you're going to be fucking far better off.
Just like
Eat a good amount of
skills.
protein.
Yeah. But just like skills in your sport.
Yeah.
On the ice, on the court, on the field, whatever. It's because you're great at the basics.
Yeah.
Nolan Arenado is great at the basics of fielding a ground ball. That's why he can make the spectacular plays that he can. It's the same idea.
Hammer the basics. Skill specific coaches. Sports. Wait, what are you? Sports
specific. Yeah. Sports specific.
Sports
Dude,
specific.
there's one guy on social who's really, I don't even know his name, but like I wouldn't do that anyways. But
You're not talking about Seidman, are you?
No, no. Oh gosh, I'll call his name out all day.
He blocked me, so we're good.
You don't need him on your page anyways. Yeah. But who is it? Yeah, this guy was literally each sport he does something different for, and he'll put out 12, 15 different exercises he does that are sport specific for lacrosse, football, hockey, and it's just the most garbage shit I've ever seen in my life. I'm talking. It's like, and it's just all it is just like different variations of jumping and some rotational stuff, and that's it. And it's like you do understand that if you just have your athlete bench and squat along with maybe some of that supplemental stuff,
right.
like maybe some of that stuff. And I say maybe because if you saw the exercise, you know what I was saying. But it's bullshit because you market yourself as a sports specific trainer. It's like, that's just trying to put an athlete in a box. That's it. Yeah,
right.
And like I said, I train some of the most elite athletes in this city, and it's not because of what I do; it's because they're great athletes. Let me just put that out there first. Like it's because of them.
They're studs.
But I train them all very similar. Doesn't matter whether it's hockey, football. Are there some details that are different? Yes, absolutely, in the methods that I do.
Sure.
But for the most part, guess what I'm trying to do? If you're a strength coach and you're training athletes anywhere from 14 years old up to about 20 years old, train your athletes to be the best athletes. It is that simple.
Yep.
And I guarantee you they're going to be the tops of their sport.
Yeah. Yeah.
Magic, right? I know. I just broke down
crazy.
the entire strength conditioning.
You just blew up the fitness industry.
Train
Yeah.
your athletes to be the best athletes you can. And I guarantee you watch what happens.
Literally the most basic strength coach advice ever.
I know.
But it's like because it works.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Right.
That's it.
And somehow that's controversial now.
I know.
And it's like,
I'm a very controversial coach.
Some people would describe you that way. It's the funniest thing about it. And we're trying to like, oh, he just likes to lift heavy and jump and run. And it's like, wow, this guy's really complicated.
Yeah, I know, right? Sorry.
Kyron Williams doing pretty good in the NFL, right?
Yeah,
so I don't know.
Kyron's doing good. All those guys are doing good, man.
Vladdy
State
Tarasenko,
championship, Barbashev.
Ever heard of Vladdy? Ever heard of Barbie?
Luther Burden too, right?
Yeah, Luther.
Burden, Brady Cook.
Mackay Wingo, Detroit Lions.
Oh, Mackay Wingo's a beast,
Art Green. I mean, there's a bunch of guys. The list goes on and on. But like I said, I let the athletes speak for themselves. I don't, draw out a long list of guys I work with. But at the end of the day, I've been very, very blessed to work with these guys, and they've entrusted me with their programming and to try and get them to that next level. And hopefully, I do a good job.
Seems like because you care about them.
Yeah,
that's why.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that again, if you care about your athletes, you're going to give them the truth. You're going to try and add as many tools to your toolbox as you can to get them.
Yeah.
Right. If you're biased, if you're opinionated, and you fucking negate a lot of the basics, you're not getting the best out of your athletes.
Right.
You're leaving a lot on the table.
Yeah.
And I see it way too often.
I love that.
Yeah, me too.
Got anything else, Wurtzy?
I don't. I think I'm good.
No, I'm good.
Gosh, that was awesome. That was a blast.
We faked you guys out like 15 minutes ago by saying it was the end. Gotcha.
20 minutes later.
Psych.
All right, guys. Well, we know you enjoyed that. We know you learned at least one thing. And if you only learned one thing, you might need to pay attention more.
Listen to the episode.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Guys, as always, please share the show. Okay, continue to show that love. Continue to show that support, not only for us, but for Brock as well. What's your Instagram handle?
Wilson B25.
There you go. Go follow him if you're not already. He's back.
He is so back.
He's back.
We're back.
Trump is back. Brock is back.
Yeah.
There we go.
I think the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Same person. Yeah.
And guys, as always, I'm not going to go through the whole spiel, but submit those Q&A questions. We have a million different ways you can do that for us. Continue doing that. Guys, until next time, peace and love.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Boom.